Welcome to Exploring Sunday Scriptures for December the 7th, 2021. So these are the scriptures that we will hear on this third Sunday of Advent as we continue through this series that is focusing on the main themes associated with the candles of the Advent wreath. So we have already journeyed and explored the candle of hope and the candle of peace, and now we turn to the candle of joy. The pink or rose-colored candle, as it is sometimes called, represents a brief lightening of the penitential season. It actually has its roots in Lent, which had midway through a Lent a brief reprieve from the darkness of Lent and the minor key that marked out most of the music of Lent to provide a way to sort of persevere through the rest of the dark season. So also Advent does that, and we do it correspondingly on the Advent wreath with that candle. Sometimes people have associated the pink candle as the candle associated with love, but that is not the case. It really has to do with this liturgical way of briefly brightening the somber, dark reality of these penitential seasons to help us persevere through what remains of the season itself. So alongside of our exploration of these themes have been our challenge with how these candles, these flames that we light, this light that we light, how we are finding that a challenge within our contemporary climate, given everything that's going on, given how much it seems that we are so bent on dividing ourselves and how challenging things are as we continue with pandemic crisis, in another holiday where much of the normal way that we might do things is suppressed under this climate, even though we have more ability than we perhaps did last year. We are once again finding ourselves greatly challenged. And while last year we could light these candles with the ambitious hope of a quick change or turn from how things were, here we are again lighting the candles, and it can feel a lot less realistic to hold on to the main themes that they offer. The scriptures associated with the season, these ones even that we hear, are very common in the season of Advent. And some of them are unique to Advent, like Zephaniah, who we read from today. The prophecies are often seen as being a direct foretelling of the person of Jesus and the ministry and life of Jesus, the things that he did, the acts that he undertook, and ultimately the death that he died and the resurrection that also occurred. We have two scriptures for this week associated with joy. I hope you'll listen carefully for that as the main theme. I will read through these scriptures in two different translations and then share with you some reflections on each of the scriptures as a way to prepare you to hear them this coming Sunday. I encourage you to go back to them perhaps a couple of more times this week. The more familiar you get with them, the more I think that you can get out of the entire worship experience when we gather. The songs, the call to worship, the prayers, and yes, the preaching as well. So it can be helpful not only to have this experience, but then to return to the scriptures again and read them again a couple of times before Sunday morning. So let's begin with Zephaniah. I will read it through twice, then share a little about Zephaniah, and then explore some of the things that we find in this particular passage from Zephaniah. This is chapter 3, verses 14 through 20. Sing aloud, O daughter Zion. Shout, O Israel. Rejoice and exult with all your heart, O daughter Jerusalem. The Lord has taken away the judgments against you. He has turned away your enemies. The King of Israel, the Lord, is in your midst. You shall fear disaster no more. On that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, do not fear, O Zion, do not let your hands grow weak. The Lord your God is in your midst, a warrior who gives victory. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will renew you in his love. He will exult over you with loud singing as on a day of festival. I will remove disaster from you so that you will not bear reproach for it. I will deal with all your oppressors at that time, and I will save the lame and gather the outcast, and I will change their shame into praise and renown in all the earth. At that time I will bring you home, at the time when I gather you, for I will make you renowned and praised among all the peoples of the earth when I restore your fortunes before your eyes, says the Lord. From the Message. So sing, daughter Zion, raise your voices, Israel. Daughter Jerusalem, be happy, celebrate. God has reversed his judgments against you and sent your enemies off chasing their tails. From now on, God is Israel's king, in charge at the center. There's nothing to fear from evil ever again. Jerusalem will be told, don't be afraid. Dear Zion, don't despair. Your God is present among you, a strong warrior there to save you. Happy to have you back, he'll calm you with his love and delight you with his songs. The accumulated sorrows of your exile will dissipate. I, your God, will get rid of them for you. You've carried those burdens long enough. At the same time, I'll get rid of all those who've made your life miserable. I'll heal the maimed and bring home the homeless. In the very countries where they were hated, they will be venerated. On Judgment Day, I'll bring you back home, a great family gathering. You'll be famous and honored all over the world. You'll see it with your own eyes. All those painful partings turned into reunions. God's promise. So to give a little background on Zephaniah without going into too much detail, as I could give you a lot of the scholarly thought on the time at which Zephaniah prophesied, what the conditions were, its link to Josiah and reforms that had gone on. I'm going to spare you of the history associated with that so we can get to the message itself. So here's a brief synopsis of that. Zephaniah, it is likely seen as may have been in or around just preceding or just following Jeremiah. So Jeremiah is one of the major prophets. Zephaniah is called one of the minor prophets. We are actually right near the final verses. These are the final verses from the prophecy of Zephaniah. Zephaniah's prophecy is absolutely cram-packed with judgment and doom. You can't get a much more of a dark picture than you get of Zephaniah. Now, that's not what we experience when we only come here at the 3rd chapter in this 14th through 20th verse. But this represents a turning. So everything before this is all the doom and all of the judgment. And this represents a paradigm shift here at the end. So it's describing what has come to be known as the Messianic age. And that is punctuated by this, or experienced by this great joy, this great time of joy with God, where God will be right in the midst of the people, right among the people. So rather than being away or distant or removed, God will be very much present with that. And because of that, that will encourage this to be a time of festivity, a time of singing, a time of rejoicing, because it represents that the time of judgment and also then corresponding punishment has passed. And so God's people will be resting in God's love, and God will be taking great delight in them as they will be taking great delight in God. Now, this includes the sense that as they are carried away or are in captivity, their incapacity to continue to mark the important religious festivals and moments will be forgiven or removed by God as they are brought home. So not being able to maintain them could have been cause for more judgment or punishment, but that is going to be absolved in this as they are brought home. And we can see within this that one of the keys represented in this Messianic age that is prophesied about is how joy becomes a key in unlocking the message of God to God's people. So the shift from judgment and punishment to joy, joy is the key that unlocks that message of God to God's people. It has been locked away, or they have not known it. And so within that, the judgment in the sentence, or the punishment that has been a result of that judgment, has been commuted. That's a piece of the prophecy of this Messianic age, that what should have gone on longer didn't. It was commuted, which provides for a future that is much different than the past. Not only the direct past, but even the far distant past, something that's unimaginable and unimagined. And so the prophecy is really kind of about those who are going to inherit this future. And those who inherit this future are going to be those who are faithful. And you hear that it doesn't seem to matter their physical condition or otherwise, as we have things that very much sound like the Messianic age in Jesus. I'll save the lame and gather the outcast, and I will change their shame into praise and renown in all the earth. Well, if those who inherit the future are the faithful, the other things, like being lame or outcast, won't matter. They've been faithful, and the realities will change. There'll be a role reversal. So the first will be last, and the last will be first. So this should very much resonate with what we end up experiencing in the life and ministry and teachings of Jesus. And also the sense that in that life and ministry is a overflowing of joy that is theirs. So a little bit on Zephaniah. Again, the main theme is joy. So when you think of joy, sing aloud, O daughter Zion, shout, O Israel, rejoice. So there's our main theme right there. Rejoice and exult with all your heart. What does it mean to rejoice with all our heart, with every last fiber of our being? What would that look like for you? And now the reason for all this rejoicing is this commuted sentence. The Lord has taken away the judgments against you, turned away your enemies, and now God is in your midst. And so there's nothing to fear anymore. And we're renewed by God's love. And again, we have loud singing as on a festival day. And we also have a voice change that goes on in here. So we have this command from the prophet, sing aloud, O daughter Zion, rejoice and exult. Then we get to this, afternoon yawnies. We get to this point where it says, I will remove disaster from you. So this is the prophet speaking on behalf of God as a direct words from God through the prophet. I will remove disaster. I will deal with your oppressors. I will save the lame. I will change their shame. I will bring you home. I will make you renowned or known. I will restore your fortunes. So we have that shift that happens as well there. Our second reading is familiar because we just had it this past week. We're adding a couple of verses in the beginning of it, actually. And so when you go, wait a minute, didn't we just have that? The answer is yes, we did. This is adding a couple of verses to the beginning of it and not including one of the verses at the end. So it's Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 through 7. I, again, will read both forms of it and then share a few reflections. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say, rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to everyone. The Lord is near. Do not worry about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Celebrate God all day. This is the Message version. Every day. I mean, revel in him. Make it as clear as you can to all you meet that you're on their side, working with them and not against them. Help them see that the master is about to arrive. He could show up any minute. Don't fret or worry. Instead of worrying, pray. Let petitions and praises shape your worries into prayers, letting God know your concerns. Before you know it, a sense of God's wholeness, everything coming together for good, will come and settle you down. It's wonderful what happens when Christ displaces worry at the center of your life. So, a few remarks here. This is Paul's letter to the church in Philippi. This is one of the communities that Paul had a very good relationship with. These are his final words to that community of faith. And what we begin with, when we hear anything repeated twice, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. That repetition is meant to emphasize how imperative it is to do this. So this is a command, but also like an absolute necessity. And this repetition would have been heard by those who originally had this read to them as extremely important. We lose that flourish in the translation, but that's why it's repeated. And this really represents the keynote of the entire letter, to rejoice under all circumstances. If you read through the rest of the letter, the circumstances are really quite hard. And so Paul saying, keep your chin up and rejoice, is really trying to keep their spirits up in a very, very difficult situation, which we should be able ourselves to affiliate with, to connect with, as we ourselves are in our own difficult situation and perhaps are finding it very hard to rejoice under all circumstances. And so having the Apostle Paul encourage us to this keynote of his letter, to rejoice under all circumstances, no matter what, is important because it's a divine imperative. Go back to Zephaniah. What unlocks the key to the understanding or to the heart of God, what unlocks that, unlocks the message of God, is joy. So the divine imperative to rejoice always, we could say, reconnects to Zephaniah that this is a key to unlocking the message of God to God's people. So following on that joy, rejoicing under all circumstances, is then expressions of goodwill. And the translations are both a little clumsy in this. Gentleness is in one translation. Making it clear as you can to all you meet, you're on their side, working with them, not against them. Now, part of this is that sense that God is about to come back. And so with the little bit of time that we have until God's imminent return, God's advent, with God's advent at hand, we're in the season of Advent here, we are to be about goodwill. And that goodwill should be framed by gentleness, by our expressions of work with and for others. And so an encouragement to joy and reasonableness, you might say, in our relationships, that is without anxiety or worry. Why? Because God is about to come back. The advent of God is upon us. So maintaining a spirit of joy no matter what, that spirit of joy being joy in God, joy in the Lord, joy that comes through faith. That doesn't make us immune to sorrow or insensitive to troubles, but those things cannot penetrate that joy of knowing God. They can't get there. And ultimately also, by virtue of that joy of knowing God, can't affect the inner calm, the peace that we feel no matter what's going on around us, and because God is near. So with God so near, we have every reason to be joyful and understand that through our faith, through knowing God in that way, we have a peace that no matter what, we're going to be okay. That doesn't absolve, again, that there are challenges going on, but no matter what, we're going to be okay. So a few reflections on Zephaniah and also these verses from Philippians. I do encourage you to go back, Philippians 4, 4 through 7, Zephaniah 3, 14 through 20. If you've never read Zephaniah before, it's very small, so you can read the whole thing and see how doomy and gloomy he is before we get to the reading that we had today, and which provides a much cheerier picture, and it actually encourages us to a much cheerier outlook and disposition than the whole entire rest of the book does. So our theme this week is joy, and so the Philippians and Zephaniah's audience both were being challenged to feel and to hold fast to joy. Perhaps we find ourselves in the same place, and so these prophecies and this apostolic encouragement to remember the importance, the imperative, the command, the keynote of joy. That is what unlocks the message of God to us as God's people, is important to us as we explore. So thanks for spending this time with me. I look forward to continuing to explore this message of joy in these passages with you as we gather for worship this coming Sunday, hard to believe, the third Sunday in Advent. God bless you.